mansion looked peaceful from the outside. Lights warm, curtains drawn, the illusion of a perfect family. But inside, a little girl's voice cracked through the hallway. "Mom, please, please stop! It hurts!" Her tiny hands covered her head, tears running down her cheeks as her mother towered over her, breathing hard. A rage no child should ever see. No one else was home. No guards. No witnesses. Just a frightened little girl and a woman losing control of herself. "You think your father will save you?" the mother hissed. "He won't. He never does." The girl sobbed harder. She tried to escape, but the moment she turned, her mother grabbed her wrist so tightly her small body shook from the pain. "Stop crying." The scream rattled the walls, and then the front door clicked. Slow, quiet, dangerous. Heavy footsteps echoed down the foyer. The mother froze. The little girl's breath hitched, relief flooding her trembling face. Because only one man walked like that. Only one man could turn a house of fear into a house that held its breath. Her father, the Mafia boss. He stepped into the doorway and saw everything. The raised hand, the bruises, the terror in his daughter's eyes. He didn't shout. He didn't move. He just stared. A silence so cold the mother's knees nearly buckled. Because in that single moment, she realized the punishment she feared from the streets was nothing compared to what waited inside her own home. Stay with me until the end, because what the Mafia boss does next will redefine loyalty, betrayal, and what a father becomes when his child is hurt. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Now let's get started. Vincent Torino had built an empire on fear. 43 years old, 6 feet of muscle wrapped in expensive Italian suits, with eyes that could make grown men confess their sins without saying a word. The streets of Chicago knew his name. Rival families crossed themselves when they heard he was coming. Politicians took his calls at 3 in the morning, but none of that mattered now. Because standing in his marble foyer, staring at his 7-year-old daughter pressed against the wall like a cornered animal, Vincent felt something crack inside his chest. Something deeper than rage. Something that made his hands shake with restraint instead of violence. 8-year-old Sophia had her father's dark hair and her grandmother's gentle eyes. Eyes that should have been filled with laughter and mischief. Eyes that should have lit up when Daddy came home from his long business trips. Instead, those eyes held terror. Raw, desperate terror that no child should ever know. Vincent's wife, Elena, stood frozen in the hallway. Her perfectly manicured hand still raised from where she had been about to strike again. Her face flushed red with anger that was quickly turning to something else entirely. Fear. Because Elena had made a critical mistake. She had forgotten who she married. She had forgotten that Vincent Torino didn't just run the most powerful crime family in the Midwest because he was smart or connected or lucky. He was the boss because when someone threatened what belonged to him, he became something that made demons look gentle. "Daddy?" Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. She took one tentative step toward him, then stopped, unsure if she was allowed to move. That hesitation, that moment where his own daughter wasn't sure if she could run to her father for protection. That's when Vincent felt his soul catch fire. "Come here, princess," he said quietly. His voice was steady, controlled, but Elena heard the warning underneath. She heard death walking closer. Sophia ran to him then, her small arms wrapping around his legs as she buried her face against his expensive trousers. Vincent knelt down, gently lifting her chin to examine the red mark across her cheek, the bruise that was already forming on her tiny wrist. "Tell Daddy what happened," he whispered, his thumb brushing away her tears. "She said I was bad." Sophia sniffled. "She said I broke her favorite vase and that I'm just like you, and that's why nobody could ever love me properly. She said I ruin everything I touch." Elena's face went white. She opened her mouth to speak, to explain, to make excuses. "Don't." Vincent's voice cut through the air like a blade. He didn't even look at her. His attention remained focused on his daughter. on cataloging every mark, every sign of harm. Are you hurt anywhere else, baby girl? Sophia nodded slowly, rolling up her sleeve to show finger-shaped bruises on her upper arm. Then she lifted her shirt slightly to reveal a red mark across her ribs, where Elena had grabbed her. Vincent closed his eyes for exactly 3 seconds. When he opened them again, Elena saw something that made her blood freeze in her veins. She saw the man who had once made 3 grown men disappear for touching his car. She saw the monster who had built his reputation on the broken bones of people who crossed him. She saw her husband looking at her like she was already dead. "Sophia," Vincent said gently, never breaking eye contact with Elena. "Go to your room. Lock the door. Put on your headphones and listen to music. Don't come out until I come get you." "But Daddy..." "Now, Princess. Daddy needs to have a conversation with Mommy." Sophia scrambled upstairs, her little feet pattering against the marble steps. The sound of her bedroom door closing echoed through the mansion like a gunshot. Then there was silence. Elena tried to speak first. "Vincent, let me explain. She was being impossible today. She broke my grandmother's vase, the one from Italy, and when I tried to discipline her, she started screaming and..." "Stop talking." 2 words, said so quietly Elena almost didn't hear them, but the tone made every muscle in her body tense. Vincent stood slowly, his movements deliberate and controlled. He straightened his tie, adjusted his cuffs, simple gestures that Elena had seen him make 1,000 times before business meetings, before he destroyed someone's life. "Elena," he said, his voice carrying that particular cadence that made hardened criminals confess their sins. "We've been married for 9 years. In that time, I have given you everything. This house, cars, jewelry, vacations, a lifestyle most women can only dream about." She nodded frantically. "Yes, and I'm grateful, Vincent. I love our life. I have asked very little from you in return." He continued, as if she hadn't spoken. "I asked you to be loyal. I asked you to be discreet about my business. And I asked you to love my daughter like your own." Elena's throat felt dry. "I do love her. I was just having a bad day. You don't understand the stress of... You just told my daughter that nobody could ever love her properly." The words hung in the air like poison. "You told her she ruins everything she touches." Elena tried to step backward, but the wall stopped her. "You put bruises on her body. You made her afraid of her own home." Vincent took 1 step closer, then another. "You made my daughter beg you to stop hurting her." Each word was punctuated by another step forward, until Elena could smell his cologne, could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Vincent, please. I made a mistake. I was angry about the vase and I lost my temper. It won't happen again. I promise it won't." "You're right," he said softly. "It won't happen again." Elena's hands started trembling as she watched her husband reach into his jacket pocket. She knew that gesture. She had seen it before when Vincent dealt with problems that needed to disappear permanently. But instead of what she expected, he pulled out his phone. "Marco," Vincent said when someone answered. His voice was calm, almost conversational. "I need you at the house. Bring the boys. We have a situation that requires immediate attention." Elena's blood turned to ice water. Marco was Vincent's right-hand man, the enforcer. When Marco showed up with the boys, people didn't walk away from the conversation. "Vincent, no," she whispered. "Please, we can work this out. We don't need to involve them. I'll do better. I'll be better." Vincent ended the call without taking his eyes off her. "You know what's interesting, Elena? In my line of work, I deal with all kinds of people, thieves, liars, betrayers, men who would sell their own mothers for a quick dollar." He slipped the phone back into his pocket with deliberate slowness. "But even the worst scum I deal with has lines they won't cross. Even the most heartless criminals understand that children are sacred, that a man's family is untouchable." Elena pressed herself harder against the wall, as if she could somehow disappear into the expensive wallpaper. "Yet here you are," Vincent continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "In my home." hurting my child, breaking the one rule that even animals understand. She's not your blood, Vincent, Elena said desperately, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. Sophia's not really your daughter. She's just some kid you took in when her real parents died. Why are you choosing her over your own wife? The moment the words left her mouth, Elena knew she had made a fatal mistake. Vincent's face didn't change expression. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't move a muscle. But something shifted in the air around them. Something that made Elena's survival instincts scream at her to run. What did you just say? His voice was so quiet she had to strain to hear it. I didn't mean, you said she's not my blood. Elena tried to backtrack, tried to find words that might save her. But Vincent kept talking. Sophia came to me when she was 3 years old. Her parents, my closest friends, died in a car accident. She had nowhere to go, no family left, just a scared little girl who cried herself to sleep every night for months. Vincent began walking toward Elena again, each step measured and purposeful. I held her when she had nightmares. I taught her to ride a bike. I scared away the monsters under her